Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. He picked the perfect time to jump there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have Brandon Croucher and Joe. I've never said your last name. I just leave you at fuck Joe all the time because
that's where we're leaving it.
I mean, all right, then I got my buddy Joe. Fuck him over there. And just so everybody knows, it's a respect thing that I call him that. He has pushed me through parts of my life I didn't want to get through. And he's like, hey, Brandon, no, you got to do this. You got to do this. Eat right. Why are you eating that crap? Why are you doing this? And every time I wanted to yell at him, I realized he's just helping me and I have to blame myself. So it's really screw myself. But yeah. So Joe, how's your week been so far, my man?
It's been all right. Just a week. The weather's getting a little nicer in Cleveland, so that's good. It's nice to see the sun out and not go down by 4:35. So the day feels a little longer, more energy that way. No complaints there. You know, the doors are not closed, but we're doing good.
I love how with the sun being up longer and all that, people are out like side again. I don't know if you're noticing that people are like out as much as they can. Today's high was 49, and they were just lining up to be outside and be in public today. And I thought that was really like a great thing to see. Donna McGee, you made it. We are so glad you are here. Hello. She was all excited thinking she wasn't going to be able to make it today. And then she turns around and makes it. I'm very glad to see you, Donna. It's good that you're here. Hope you're doing well. I was thinking of you the other day and the CBD's treating you well. So Joe, what you been up to?
Brandon. Normal stuff. Eating, working out, daily grind. Not having cats in my chin strap.
He's not going to lead. Now he knows.
See, the was the chin strap. I didn't say beard.
See, he is. This is my best friend right here. Like this dude is.
I'm telling Kip.
What's that?
I'm telling the other one you said that.
Kittler?
Yeah, yeah.
So we have a really special guest today. I actually got to interview her on the Morning Brew, the morning show that we do, and she had this energy that it was contagious. It literally, oh my gosh, the Rights and Wrong podcast. I love that you're here. It's good to see you, my friend. How are we doing? Oh, the Black Heart. I love it. So she was on my morning show, and we had a wonderful conversation. She is an inspiration. I love following her on social media. Everybody needs to do that because she's posting positivity, she's posting honesty, and she's making sure she doesn't make excuses. I love that I've been blessed enough to get to know her. Let me read a little on her bio and then we'll bring her in. She's an author. She's writing a book about the chaotic and magical parts of her life. She has lived through years of bipolar, PTSD, and rape. My story is one of pain, struggle, and strife. It's also one of love, passion, and magnificence. With love in mind, I have found new meaning in life with the beautiful children and amazing husband, though leaving behind the family that raised me and grew me. Now I have slowly disappeared from the family tree as I make my life here in America. I'm inspired already. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring on Miss Amelia Zachary.
Hey.
Hey, Amelia.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Brandon and Joe.
Absolutely.
Oh, most welcome. We enjoy having you.
So you make me tear up when I heard you talk about me. I said, oh my goodness, I've never heard anyone say things so nice about me before.
You've earned it. You are an amazing person. So
thank you.
I'm going to dive in right away because I love what you do. Talk to us about your bio. It hit me right between the eyes when you're talking about how you're leaving your life and the family tree and all that. Tell me a little about you and your past.
That's the true story of immigration, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I met the love of my life, didn't think about where we were going. We were just we'd be together wherever that was. And it started out in Japan, and then we moved to Canada, and then we came back here because he's American and this is home base for him. And so I didn't think about leaving my family when I met him, but then we moved, and then now it's been 11 years since I left home. And
Really?
8 of those in America. But that's the story of immigration. When we move, you don't realize all the things you leave behind, and the birthdays and the anniversaries and all those things that I'm missing from those pictures. And slowly with I guess as time progresses, I feel a little bit more distanced from my family. Although we do the Skype, we do FaceTime, we do WhatsApp and all this stuff, right? We try to keep in touch, but it's not the same.
No, not at all.
So, yeah.
And even though that's what we call normal nowadays because of like COVID and all that, you've been dealing with it, and it's been a whole different experience. Following the love of your life, like that's look at the smile. Like I say it.
Oh, he is.
Smile.
He is something else.
Tell us about him a little bit.
He is an engineer, so he is very different in the way he thinks and sees things than I do. We are very much a jigsaw puzzle that fits just right. With two very different pieces. But he's very, very logical and very rational and very steady and like calm and relaxed. And I'm all fire and like excitement, and I'm crazy and I'm all over the place. I'm spontaneous and I need excitement in my life. And he kind of melds into that, and I kind of calm down a little bit, and we're perfect for each other.
I love that.
And he's seen me through some very difficult times. And I would say I had a life before him and a life with him. Because I had trauma, as you know. I guess I'll run through that a little bit here. I was raped when I was 19, and that was very scarring. And my life changed, like took a different trajectory. And I was very lost, and I was self-destructive, and I was in a very bad state when I met him. And he kind of found ways to heal me and helped me in my healing process. And so that's why I think that's why I get like really excited when someone mentions him, or I talk about him. Mm-hmm. That sparkle in my eyes because I'm alive today because of him.
Wow, that's awesome. So being a guy, you have a totally different experience through life and all this. That had to be traumatic, being stuck in that situation and all that. How can you, if it's not too much, tell us about how he saved your life, because that's a pretty cool thing that you can say, like, the love of my life saved my life. Like, that's a Prince Charming thing that you don't get to hear often.
It is. And it's not like one of those stories where he rescued the damsel in distress and like everything was fine, happily ever after, right? Because it was more of like he was so empathetic and so unconditional in his love that he saw me for who I was. So I was also so I was having a lot of destructive behavior, and I lived with him. Mm-hmm. I moved in with him very soon after we started dating. I moved to Japan and I lived with him. And so while I was living with him, he got to see my behaviors, and he got to watch me and see the real me, and then see the me in my chaotic episodes. Yeah. And then he suggested that I go for treatment. And of course, at that time when he said, go for treatment, I said, what? No way. I said, no, I'm not crazy. Crazy people see shrinks. I'm not crazy. I'm fine. I'm just excitable. And like, I just need that high. I need to chase that high all the time. And that's just who I am. And so him being him, he said, no, like, this is not normal. The you who is you is not this. And we need to get this sorted out. And we started taking treatment, and I started seeing a psychologist, and he sat with me, a psychotherapist, and he sat with me, and he did those early sessions, and he was talking and he was reporting. He had all the data lined up, and being an engineer, he had a list and time, and like this on this day, this happened, and on that day, this happened, and he reported. And then I started seeing, when someone brings a list to you, like, it's hard to say, no, that's not me. Right. It's hard to deny it anymore. And then that's when I began treatment. And so, yeah.
So starting treatments, that's diving into a new world of things, because like you have to be raw and open when you dive into treatment like that. They want you to bring up wounds and all that. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, that's a trauma you don't want to relive? Like, being like, for the people
that you see.
Oh, go ahead.
See, that's the thing. I didn't know that my behavior was stemmed from the trauma.
That's
And
interesting. Run with
so I
that.
did not, I just thought that I was being myself, and like I knew I was feeling something that was not right, but I didn't know what it was. And as we delved into my behaviors, that's when we started seeing things. And I started realizing that, oh, that makes sense now. That makes sense. That came from trauma. And then I got another diagnosis of bipolar disorder, which was brought on because of the immense trauma. So oh, you said hello, and then I see all the hellos.
I'm
Hi,
trying.
everybody.
I usually bring them up
No,
and
but
say hi, and I'm like trying to be polite and
It's
wave and
it
say hi.
is so cute. He's sitting there going, I cannot say hi to these people. They're saying hi to me, like hi. But okay, so I was saying that the trauma brought about bipolar because bipolar has the biological and environmental factors to it. So the biological factor, I have a genetic predisposition to bipolar. I always had that. It was latent. It was not on the surface, and I didn't know. So when the trauma happened, that brought that about. So then I was dealing with PTSD and bipolar disorder. And so seeing a doctor, I guess at that point I was in so much pain and so much grief and so much loss. I was so numb that I was okay with just blurting stuff out to him. Like, yep, this is how I feel. You want to know how I really feel? I feel like I need to disappear right now.
And you're
this is how I really feel. Oh no, when I received treatment, I was 28 years old.
Okay, well, still
26. Sorry.
Either way,
years old, but yeah, 7-8 years later, I did not realize. I didn't even call it rape till maybe about a year ago, like several months ago.
Really? And I mean, when you started to all right, so when you started to notice the difference and actually getting treatment in that, could you see a difference in yourself? Because mental health is a big thing for me. That's what the whole podcast tonight's about. It's the H, an honest conversation. So thank you for being honest with this about health, hemp, and happiness. And I think that there's a comment right here, Rights and Wrong Podcast, says this is a powerful truth. I think society needs to treat mental health like physical health. We get an annual physical health, but we don't do the same for mental health. I think that's 100% right. I think
that's the whole stigma, isn't it? Like that's the whole stigma that I'm trying very hard to fight against. I want to normalize mental illness. I want it to be seen as a medical condition, which it is. But because of the stigma and how we talk about things, that's why I wasn't seeking treatment. I refused to seek treatment because I thought there was nothing wrong with me. And then
there's
people go. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So I think that that's a very big thing that people need to understand is you didn't think there was anything wrong with you, and there's still nothing wrong with you. It's the difference is you're healing in a different way. You're not just coping. I think that needs.
And that's what treatment is, right? It's not fixing something. It's getting you to a place where you're living life and you're thriving and you're actually experiencing life. Before the treatment, I think I was like in a shell. I was like a zombie. I was just getting on with life and trying to numb the pain or trying to hide the things that I was feeling, and I was trying to just get by. But with treatment today, I'm enjoying my life. I'm managing my symptoms. And bipolar is not something that's going away from me. It's something that's lifelong. But with treatment, I'm now able to keep the peaks and the troughs like closer to baseline. And then I'm having a better quality of life because of treatment.
I agree.
And so but treatment is not available to everybody because of the stigma that people don't want to get treatment, don't know enough to know that you need treatment, or don't understand that mental illness is just another medical condition. If you had a heart murmur, you would go check it out at the doctor, wouldn't you? But if you have racing thoughts, or if you are depressed all the time, you're sad and grieving all the time, you wouldn't go get it checked out because there's a stigma around it. 100%. And that's what I want to get rid of. I think like more conversations like we're having today is possibly will normalize that and make it easier for people to come forward and get help that they need.
I agree. I agree. So Joe, if you have a question, you're gonna have to jump in here because this is one of my
Not
favorite
so
things.
much.
I'm sorry.
You guys
Dude,
are
her
great.
and I talked outside of like things
Brandon,
at
be
times.
quiet.
So I know.
Talk to Amelia. So it's not so much a question. It's kind of like we were stating that stigma, right? And something I've noticed, and I know a lot of veterans and I have a lot of military in my family, and this is something that was big for the United States soldiers after the war, PTSD, is it's not the stigma. It's so many people don't understand, like when they go to these therapies and stuff, things hit your record. And I think that's where a big concern comes from the average educated person that wants to seek treatment, but they know that it could affect some type of record of theirs. So when they go to a hospital, they get mistreated or treated differently. On government forms, things. I know a lot of soldiers didn't seek at first, and I know a lot has changed and they're doing better now. The United States military is doing better, where they refuse to go to treatment because they got a black mark on their record if they were found to have PTSD. So they didn't go because that could affect their money, their benefits, their livelihood, their families. And so they were just
continual evaluations.
Yeah. And so they were trying to man or woman up in the essence of, I'll just deal with it. And some of them were suffering some major issues. And I feel like a lot of younger people that have been through some hardships that want to go to therapy, that's a big concern. So I think educating them on, it's not this horrible black mark on your record. Like, yes, it might go on your record if you're diagnosed, but like we talked last week about this, people go to the gym to work on themselves, to eat healthy. Well, this is a muscle too. So why not put in the 2 cents and same effort to fix your brain and your mental health? And that big stigma for me is, I feel like a lot of people worry about the consequences of what goes on their record.
Yeah. And I agree. Like, I see somebody said earlier that mental health should be maintained and not just when it's broken. Like that's true. Like they should be maintained. But now what we're talking about is when it is broken, like there needs to be an avenue for getting it right so that people can live like a good quality of life with a good mental state. Sometimes it needs the help, and we're not getting it because of the stigma goes around the whole system, right? The whole system we live in, everybody. And it's a whole culture that we live in that we will not adhere to, like we will not admit to having something go wrong with your mind.
Correct.
Because you are immensely flawed if you are.
Agreed. So question for you on that is, you just so I don't say the wrong thing, where did you grow up as a kid?
I was born and raised in Malaysia.
In Malaysia. So
yes.
Coming from
Malaysia, truly Asia.
That was awesome. I did not expect that. So growing up, have you noticed the differences in parenting from how your parents parented to being in America and parenting? Are there differences in all that? And go ahead. I can. No.
I love that question because I get asked that a lot, and I'm married to a Southern man. So his family is from Texas.
Okay.
And so Texas and South Louisiana, and they're all Southern people. And it's so funny that we see that the way that we were raised were very, very, very similar with the traditional way of growing up. Our parents were strict, and the way you dressed, the way you spoke, the way you addressed your elders. We call them different things. Like where I grew up, you call every person who is older than you call them as in big sister, big brother, or uncle or auntie. We're not really related, but you could go to a store and like there's somebody who's serving you at the restaurant who's older than you. You'd say uncle. Thank you, uncle. Like in substitute for sir and ma'am. Right. So I think we grew up pretty similar. And Malaysia is where I grew up. Kuala Lumpur is a metropolis. And you think like New York City, kind of big city.
Oh, I didn't know it was that big.
So it's very westernized. I mean, the concept of like the lights, the city, the congestion, the skyscrapers, and fashion and theater and music and all these things, clubs and all that. So you would see like it's a big city, and we are very westernized. A lot of the things that we get there. My husband and I, we both listen to Green Day. We both listen to Vertical Horizon. We listen to 311. We listen to all the same kind of bands when we were growing up. So that's really cool that we were growing up across the globe, and we listened to the same music, we watched the same movies, we wore the same brands clothes.
Oh, sorry, Samantha's comment got my attention too. A lot of people don't even realize how westernized a lot of Eastern countries are, and I have to be honest, I did not know how westernized they were. I didn't realize that. So your husband and you've been married for how many years now?
8 years now.
8 years. He is
been together for 11,
and he saved your life, which
yes.
you have if you haven't or didn't hear the beginning of our conversation, Amelia had a very traumatic experience and was dealing with a rape, and her now husband came in and protected her, and he's been her knight in shining armor ever since. It's
well,
like
he didn't jump into the situation.
Oh, I understood that. I'm sorry. I'm picturing the whole time we're talking. I'm like,
no,
just grabbed him and threw the dude off, and he beat the shit out of the rapist. I was so happy for that. I was like, yes.
He may as well have for what he did for me, but no, I met him 8 years later.
Okay, but I met him 8 years later,
and he helped me from a very dark place in my life where I was self-destructive and I was really hurting from the trauma. He got me into getting treatment, and he got me into a great place, and now we've been doing this together as a couple for 11 years. And if you know anybody who has mental illness or who has bipolar like I do, it's not an easy feat.
No.
And he's learned how to be with me, and he's learned how to manage during my episodes. He's the best dad. He's the best dad, best husband. Like, so whenever I go into episodes, he picks up right away. Like, he does the kids, he takes care of the kids, he doesn't bother me, gives me time to heal because he knows I need space. Yeah. And he does all the things that's needed. And then he sits with me, and he's always comes to me, what do you need? What can I do for you?
Mm-hmm.
I tell a lot of people that trying to be an ally or an advocate for somebody who has mental illness is not telling them what to do or doing things for them as you think they need. It's always asking, what do you need and how can I help? Yeah. And it has been a tremendous, I think, marriage saver. I think that's how we learn how to communicate very clearly about what exactly I need in this moment in time. And he gives me exactly what I need. And so like that's what I need, and that's what I get. And I heal better in that space.
So just being a guy, now my fiance is not bipolar, but I am. So she has to deal with my I saw that, Joe. She has to deal with my uniqueness, and butthead. She deals with my unique personality traits. But one of the things that she's very good at is understanding. And I think that that's a very good thing that you said. Like, he understands how to talk to you, and that's a big thing. I have a lot of relationships that I've noticed. I kind of burn the bridge behind me as I'm walking away. I'm like, ha! And it's one of these things where I didn't know why I was doing that, and she had a different understanding. As a guy, for women out there that are dealing, or significant others are dealing with somebody that has a mental illness, how would you recommend the best way for coping and being there for them? Not just telling them get over it and all that. How to be there for someone that has a mental illness?
I think it always comes down to anyone, not just a spouse. If you're a friend, or if you have a child, or you have a parent, it comes down to really unconditional love, doesn't it?
It does.
To be willing to give all that it takes to help that somebody who you love. I mean, this sounds very selfish if I'm saying it, because that's what my husband does for me. But it is now something that I have learned that I would do for anybody else. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just coming from a place of receiving, but it is unconditional love and checking your expectations at the door. Because whatever you expect, whatever you think is not what the person needs. And the things that the person needs changes. What I need changes now, and you know, five days later, if I'm still in an episode, I might not need the same thing anymore.
Correct.
But, yeah. So being there and giving according to that expectation instead of your own, being able to step out of yourself, I think is the most important thing.
I agree. So you've been through a lot, and your husband's been there for you. 2 kids, correct?
Yes, two
How old are
beautiful little girls. They are 6 and 4.
what are your daughters' names?
I rather not say. They like to be called Elsa and Anna.
Oh,
There
I
you
like
go.
it. I love it. I love
So when
that.
I write about them, I ask them like, would you give yourself a name? And they're like, I'll be Elsa and I'll be Anna. So
So tell us about your book. Tell me about how it's coming and what's going on with it, and like what's going to be able to be there to help people through your book. Because I've been looking at your website like 2 days, last few 2 days. You have a lot of cool things you're doing. I could keep picking things with you to keep talking about too, but I want to get into the book.
sure, thank you. So the book is what started all of this. I started this book really to tell my children a story because I felt like this was something that's very difficult to talk about, but something that I really want to tell them in detail. And then my husband said that while it's fresh, because I realized as I get older, the memory changes, right? With maturity, with like perspective, your story changes, and like some memories get lost. And I didn't want that to happen, and I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it for my children. And I know it's an ugly thing to think that I'm keeping something for my children, but really I wanted them to learn, and I wanted them to know that their mother has come through something strong, and no matter what happens to you, you can be stronger for it and you'll be fine and things will be okay in the end. And so I started writing this book, a memoir on my life. It covers my life with my life from trauma and my realities with dealing with the trauma, post-trauma processing, and bipolar disorder, and the realities of what it really looks like to have bipolar disorder, and my relationships and my family with bipolar, and my family in general. So it's a good memoir of like my experience. And so I'm not just selling a book. I like to tell people it's not just a book. I want to share this movement of normalizing mental illness. I want to be part of these conversations that normalizes mental illness and sees us as people having medical conditions and people having an insight to what that looks like, and people to have more understanding and more empathy and more love for people who are going through it. And I want to dismantle rape culture. I want to be part of the conversations, part of the stories that dismantles rape culture.
I agree 100%. I have so many
And I
things.
guess I'm doing this. Like I said, I started it because I wanted to tell a story for my children, but then it grew into something where through this movement of normalizing mental illness and dismantling rape culture, I want to be part of the people who create a world that's better for my children, for all our children.
Yeah.
So that one day they can step out and be in a place where it's safe for them to be who they are.
Right. Right. So what would be your idea? What is your dream scenario for a acceptance of mental health issues? I have my own, but I'm very curious how you view the future of what you would want mental health to look like.
No more bullshit excuses when you have mental health issues. I want to have to like come up with some bullshit idea, like, oh, like I have to say something that's acceptable to the other person on the other end of the line. Like, if you were having diarrhea, you'd be able to say, dude, I'm having the runs, I have to take the day off. But like on a day that you're not able to get out of bed or not able to function, you have to like then overwhelm yourself with a way to explain it away so that you can get the time so that you can heal. Like that's gotta go. Like that's gotta change. We have to look at it differently because it is a medical condition and you should be excused. Take time when you need mental health days. When my kids need mental health days, they should be able to get out of school for mental health days without having it being like like they would if they were sick, right? If my kids need a mental health day, they should be able to skip school. Take some rest or take some time to themselves, respect their body and respect their minds.
Correct.
And I think that should change. And of course, I want a place where people are all able to get help when they need and help is available to them. I know a lot of people talk about somebody mentioned it earlier, mental health insurance is not the same, or some people don't have access to insurance when it comes to mental health. That it would be lovely if everybody, well, it would be lovely that everybody had access to healthcare, right? So like it would be lovely that people got taken care of. I'd like to see that change.
I think that's a great way to start, like having people have a chance to actually get healthy.
I think that's two very strong points and a wonderful start. And with the mental health days, that's something I've noticed in the business world, even when I was in college. Not just startups, but younger companies or companies with maybe some younger leaders. They're starting to introduce that because let's be honest, it's number one, it's hard to explain that to your boss or whoever you have to report to call in sick. And then you have to take a normal sick day. Okay, that's fine. But that conversation can be a little awkward if they don't understand. Very. And then some bosses, male or female, can be a little pushy. Well, what do you mean? They want like all the details. And it's just like, I don't want to go into all those details. I don't even feel okay to get out of bed, let alone explain to my boss what I'm really going through. And if we think about it, right, and we can go all the way down to where you were saying your kids, if they want to take a mental health day, you want to be able to support that. Is a good student going to do good in school when they are worried about their mental health? Like say they had a family member pass and they're a young child and they're not coping.
Grieving, yeah.
They're not going to cope. They're not going to do good in school. Their focus isn't going to be there because as adults, when we go to work and need those days, we can't focus. You're not focused on your duties. You're not focused on the people around you and you're all over the place. So kids are the same. Their responsibilities are just a little different. So I think making that conversation less awkward to where it's just, hey, I'm going to take one of my mental health days equated to me this year. And okay, we'll see you tomorrow. If you need anything, let us know. Have a good day. And you keep it that simple. And I feel like people would be much more comfortable. So I really love your approach on that. I think that's, one good thing to start with, 100%. Go ahead, Brandon. I know you always got something.
I was like, I didn't know if you were going to ask a question. So
no, I just thought that was a really good start. It wasn't so much a question. It was just piggybacking on what Amelia said and kind of seeing, what I've seen people suffer with of how to approach their boss with that conversation.
Yeah. So does the boss really want to know anyway? Like, as a boss, do you really want to hear the whole story about why I cannot get out of bed today because I have bipolar disorder? And like, let me explain to you what bipolar disorder means, or let me explain to you what that means to me right now in this second. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I can't get out of bed, and like now we have to have this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
When it should be straight up respected as a medical condition. I'm not feeling okay today, and I have bipolar, and I'm not feeling okay, and I'm not coming into work today. And take that day off my sick day, or take that off my mental health allocated mental health day, like you said. Yeah,
correct. I think that needs to be thought of more. Joe works for me, so he knows I'm willing to like let him have mental health days and stuff. But like the thing is. You don't, but all the other employees do. It's amazing how the UK is being installationized for mental health issues. Are treated more as a broken leg than that of an individual with a disease themselves. And I have to be honest, when you think of mental illness here in the States, it is looked down upon. My father, when I tell him I have a mental health podcast, he was like, "What? You don't need to be doing that. You're putting bad energy out in the universe." And I'm like, no, actually, it's the opposite of that. I'm flipping the script on that, Dad. And it's a lot of people don't realize that dealing with mental health issues and stuff like that, you have to fight almost daily to remind yourself, I'm going to keep going. I can keep doing. And
it's double the effort than like normal people having to go through normal times. I think that's I've said this before, it's a dangerous part of mental illness is that it's invisible and it's internal. And so somebody suffering from it doesn't mean that you see me showing up in the school car line or volunteering at school. Doesn't mean that like I'm all like I've got my shit together and everything's wonderful, when really I might be struggling to get there, and I have to do twice the work that you do to show up because I have a mental struggle.
I agree. And so going off of that, how do you get yourself going on days that you don't want to? Having that going on, having the stuff you've done, what systems do you use to help keep yourself going?
The first thing I've learned, I think the strongest thing, the best thing that I have learned through this journey is saying no.
Saying no.
saying no. It's being able to have healthy boundaries and understanding what my boundaries are, and then enforcing them and making sure that people adhere to my boundaries. If I just now learn to say no, I cannot. Sorry. End of sorry. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped coming up with excuses. I stopped trying to like make good on like force myself to do something that I cannot or I don't want to. And so that because it's a lot of stress. And
Yeah.
and excess stress triggers my episodes. And so sometimes I have to know when to say no, and I say no when I can't. And that's been the biggest one. But after that, I think it's a lot of maintaining mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about maintaining trying to keep my baseline going for longer. I meditate, I connect with nature. I love hiking and I love being out in nature and in water. And I find like that helps me keep a balanced state of mind. I write.
You do write. Actually, your blog. You have a blog. I'm going to pull it up here for everybody. This is from your website, so that's why everybody can go check you out. You can get about the book, sign up. This was the bio that I read.
Yes, sign up and follow so you'll know updates.
I already am, but you know what? Just because I'm here, is it right here? Sign up for updates. We'll do this, and we'll hit sign up for updates. And now I've signed up in front of everybody.
Yay!
I love what you're doing. I'm all about mental health and all this.
So right now, I see you've got that pulled up, Bipolar episode 1. So this month, March 30th, is World Bipolar Day. It is the birthday of Vincent van Gogh, and he was bipolar. And so he was posthumously recognized as having bipolar disorder. And so World Bipolar Day is March 30th. And so I've been trying to do a series of from now up to March 30th, a series explaining bipolar disorder. So stories that let you get into my mind and kind of experience my realities.
If I click on this, it's okay, right? Like that way people can see.
Sure.
I wanted to be safe because I was going to read it my own. I think this is incredible because first off, I did not know Van Gogh. I didn't know Mental Health Awareness Day was the 30th. I think that, and I did not know that was his birthday. And that's something that I think is incredible because he really was at the time labeled like a genius and all this. And I think with mental health, and this is me coming at it as a person who suffered with it my whole life, I think that it's really interesting because you don't tap into the intuitive genius that is inside all of us because we put restrictions and then put barriers in front of it. It's saying you're not good enough and we're not going to hear it, and then we cover wounds.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just thought about something as you were saying that. We cover them as wounds. However, like there are many studies being done or have been done on the link between creativity, creative genius, and bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of very creative people have bipolar disorder. Like we've talked about Kurt Cobain, of course, my favorite one.
Yes.
Vincent van Gogh, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, she had bipolar disorder.
She did.
Yes. So there are a lot of very creative people who have this, who have the creative genius and they have bipolar disorder. So there is some kind of correlation. So we are not entirely duds because we have mental illness called bipolar disorder. We are not all serial killers like TV will have you believe.
Correct.
That's the only way a bipolar person is on a crazy ex-girlfriend or some kind of serial killer.
Correct.
That's bipolar disorder. And that's not the truth. They're nice people, wonderful people like me and Brandon.
Yes. And I think the other thing is I'm an empathetic person, and speaking with you more than one occasion, I've noticed you really are empathetic as well. So saying boundaries is a phenomenal thing I think everybody needs to understand, because boundaries is just showing respect. Boundaries is just giving both parties the opportunity to see the other person's perspective. It's when somebody breaks those boundaries is when somebody who's more empathetic they usually give part of themselves just so that people will like them, and that's part of the hard thing, because we want to be liked, we want to be seen.
And then you go into these cycles, into episodes, because you're trying to please somebody else, and I force myself out, and then I'm under duress because I'm under extreme stress trying to meet somebody else's expectations, and then foregoing my own boundaries. Therefore, there's your loss of self-respect and loss of like self-care.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Like, there's nobody else who can care for yourself better than you can.
Correct.
And nobody else who knows your boundaries better than you do.
How do you create your boundaries? Like, if someone oversteps a boundary, how do you make sure, without knocking them out or anything like that, how do you make sure to inform them that you're keeping boundaries and to keep that?
I wait a day. I sleep on it, and then I ask my husband what to do.
You don't have to give your husband's name, but please know, I want to let him know. He sounds absolutely amazing. We need more men like him in this world.
Oh my goodness. Well, I say that because I'm very emotional. I get very emotionally involved, and I get very emotionally invested, and I have the thoughts and what I want to say, but I'm not very good at being tactful or gentle. If I want to say, I mean, like, to me, saying no is saying no.
Right.
But sometimes it needs to be something very, very, very tactfully done and gently done. And my husband is very good at that. He's very diplomatic, he's very kind, and he's very well worded person. So I go to him for advice.
Is he home right now?
Yes, he is. He's probably watching this right now.
That I love it. After the end of the episode, you're gonna give him a big hug and a kiss, and just tell him thank you for helping you, because he's helping you help others, and that's an incredible thing that you need to you be appreciated for.
That's good that you said that too. We were just talking about this yesterday, and like I'm overwhelmed with love and appreciation, gratitude for everything that he does. So to be honest, I was in a funk. And so it was very difficult for me to watch him do everything, take care of the kids, do the laundry, play with the kids, get dinner together, put the kids to bed, wake them up in the morning, give them breakfast. He does all these things, and I watch him when I'm unable to do anything, and I feel immense guilt and shame and just feeling awful that, like, how are we married? How is he still here? Why is he still doing all these things? And I know rationally, I know because he loves me. We've been in love for so many years, but that guilt doesn't go away. So through therapy, we found that a good way to handle that was for me to look at him and tell him, I see you and I appreciate you. And I think that goes a long way for anyone who's on the receiving end like I am. Yeah. I think it goes a long way to tell the person who's helping out, your ally, your friend, your lover, your partner, your spouse, your parent, or whoever it is, to be able to just look at them and tell them, thank you, I see you.
Yeah. I think that's a phenomenal advice, because people do not say thank you and I appreciate you enough. And I think when you mentioned there's times you can't do anything, there's times that guilt ends up laying on you even more when you say, so like, you're sitting there, you're watching him, and you're feeling bad that you can't do it, and it makes you feel worse. Saying that to him makes him know how much he is seen and being appreciated, and it makes you know you're trying, and that's what he wants.
Absolutely.
I love that. I think that's a thing that anybody that's in a relationship, whether they have a mental illness or not, they should be talking about, because it opens up those doors. What has been one of your biggest challenges through finding your best you on all of this? Like something that you just did not think you were going to be able to get through, and now you're like, I'm writing a book, I have a blog, we're going to help people. Tell me what.
I think it's the secret I kept for so many years. I only just told my family, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, because I had written this manuscript and I was about to go into the process of publishing it. Then I thought that it's high time that I tell my parents, or that tell my family about what's going on or what happened. and what's going to be in this book that the world is going to read. And so I think the huge thing was that I never expected to tell anybody other than the very small circle of people who know me. I have like very few like really good friends, and they're the only ones who ever knew about this secret for so many years, and my husband. And so I never expected to be able to share the whole experience, and now share it with so much detail and so widely spread the way I've been sharing it. I've been like on so many podcasts talking about it, and I never thought that I would have the courage and strength to be able to do stuff like that. I'm yet to meet a troll, so far it's been good.
Because you said that, it's going to happen sometime soon. But like, I think it's truthfully, you bring this energy and you open up right away. Your first story was about a tragic experience that you encountered, and how strong you are coming through that. People like that, and you are an inspiration. So know that your voice is helping so many people, and I love that you're being so open and vulnerable with all of this. Like I said, you got to give your husband a kiss at the end of this. All right, you can tell him it's from me if you really want to make it weird, but I wouldn't do that. So what do you, with 2020, we all experienced lockdown. We've seen that anybody can be affected with mental illness this last year because of the depressions that kicked in, the anxieties that kicked in.
Anything's exacerbated by it.
Yep. And then you have confusion. So people are all like, they get mad because they're confused and all this. How do you recommend everybody start? In 2021, our focus is helping everybody find their number one, so themselves, How would you recommend people fall in love with themselves and start? It's March. You have 9 more months, people. How do you recommend them find their best self in 2021?
Ooh, that's a tough one. You're asking me to recommend something. I'm not one to give advice. I don't like giving advice or recommendations. But I would say, like, I think this time that we've had has been a lot of time for self-reflection for a lot of people, because out of no choice, you're being stuck at home by yourself with yourself for long periods of time. I think a lot of people have already done the self-reflection. And I think like this next step, now going back, whenever we do go back or moving forward, I think is the living that person that you found.
Mm-hmm.
Living and being that person, living in the present and being there and experiencing life as the person that you've discovered.
I love that. I love that. When should your book be coming out so people can get it?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I'm still editing right now, and so there's no saying like when. I'm hoping for end of this year or early next year. That's the hope.
Do you want to know the best part? Everybody can easily just head over to your website right now and be able.
I love you, Brendan.
They sign up. I mean, look at that smile, guys. That's where you want to be able to signing up. That book will come directly to you. You can keep up with the updates. Amelia,
go on the blog, because I feel like if you want shorter reads to like, I think I try to be honest and raw, and I try to be as real as possible in my writing. And I hope that comes through and people appreciate that. But it does give you an idea of like the insights of living with bipolar disorder or living a life after rape, post-trauma processing, and all those good stuff.
I'm going to ask one last question that I think as a man is essential for us to hear. There's a lot of women that have dealt with rape in their lives. Being supportive and understanding for men is something that a lot of men don't know what should be in a relationship. They just think people should get over it and stuff like that. How would you recommend men, me as a man, I'm using as an example, be there as support for your significant other that's dealing with a traumatic incident like that?
Again, advice, recommendation, man.
I'm sorry.
No,
How would
I'm
you
just-
recommend this?
well, so I will just say, like, from my experience, I can speak from my experience. I don't like giving advice because I don't know it all. I don't have the answers, but I can share my experience. And from my experience, I think what my husband gave me that no other man did before him was that he was readily reaffirming of my value and my worth in many ways, more than one. And he loves me unconditionally. Again, unconditionally meaning that he doesn't express love to me in the way that he thinks that I deserve it or I should be getting it. He loves me for me, and he loves me by giving me what I need. And a lot of times it's repeating himself, like, saying nice things about me. When he knows I need to hear something about myself, he tells me
Mm-hmm.
things that he tells me what I need to. I mean, he knows that I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling worthless, or I'm starting to get the triggers again. And he
Mm-hmm.
steps in and he reaffirms me, "You are safe. I'm with you. We are safe, and I'm here," and things like that. I think help.
That's
And
perfect.
telling me my worth. I think that was the biggest thing, is this loss of sense of worth. Just feeling worthless after something like that had happened. Having someone reaffirm your worth time and time again, I think that was immensely powerful for me.
I love that. I love that. So we are coming near, excuse me, the end of the episode. You flew through this. So you bring a great energy. I'm following you on social media already, but I'm excited for your book. I look forward to reading it. I will be one of your fans that says, "Hey, can you autograph a copy for me?" That's just because I like that.
Hey, since you did so well on promoting my website, I think once my book gets out, have me on again so you can then sell some books for me.
Deal. Absolutely. We cross promote each other. Sound good? Like, I love this. I love this. We end every episode of VH having a quick way we want everybody to inspire and change the world and how they're going to leave their impact. Joe and I it's like a motivational, inspirational, quick thing for everybody to help them. This is hump day. This is the middle of the week. We all want to get through the hump and get to the weekend and all that. So this is the day we use this time to push everybody to that next level. Know that the weekend's coming, but find that way to push and find the positivity. So Joe will go first and explain. He'll do a quick
It's
thing. Huh?
I'm gonna be the same every week. I keep telling you this.
I know. Go ahead, buddy.
Let Amelia have all the time. I'm telling you.
Should I just write it and have it scroll across the bottom?
Yeah, it's about consistency. I'm gonna give you the same thing every time.
Do it, buddy.
Thank you, Brian.
And then Sherry McQueen said hello. Yeah. I love it.
So I'll go super quick because I really, Amelia, it's been an honor to have you and to get a brief little glimpse into your story. And obviously the book is that whole picture that you're trying to paint to, like you said, help your children and people's children and just the world. But my big thing is real simple. And the guys, I know you heard it probably like a month straight, is just be the change you want to see. Real simple. I live by that. Took me some years to understand what it really means and to be at peace with it. But it's that simple. And that's the way I keep it. So, Brandon, I will give the floor to Amelia because I want her to have the time to really leave her mark on the H, which I think she's already had a great mark on, and kind of just leave her impact a little bit.
No pressure. Leave an impact.
There's no wrong answer. So you can say whatever you want. You can.
I would say from our conversation today, I would say I want everybody who's out there who's listening today or will listen in the future to find the courage to be your best self and then just be it.
I think that's phenomenally said. Knowing your best self is hard sometimes, and being able to notice the people around you, like your husband, you and him encouraging each other, showing each other the respect of I'm here, I see you, and stuff like that. All great things. Amelia, I have to be honest, I was so grateful when I saw you were going to be my interview today. I was ecstatic. And Joe goes, "Do you know her?" And I'm like, "Yes." Thank you, Right and Wrong Podcast. Everybody do me a favor, check out Right and Wrong Podcast. We gave them a shout out this morning. They're doing some really big things out in Twitch too, so I like to throw them out there every now and then because he's been a loyal follower lately. Amelia, I look so forward to your book coming out. When it is, I not only will be I will be purchasing a copy, but I look forward to having you back on and literally talking all about what you're doing and how the book sales are going and all of that. So please, I've signed up. Everybody go check out Amelia's website. Just in case you did not catch it earlier, I'm going to throw it one more time up in here. And then I want to thank you again, Amelia. And everybody, do yourself a favor. Go subscribe to her channels. Go follow her blog. Go to her website and give Amelia all the attention she deserves. She is doing amazing things, and I'm honored you were on here today. So, Joe.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Brendan, for holding space for me today. This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
You uplifted so many people. This was such an inspirational thing. I'm very grateful. So, Amelia, you have a great one. Don't forget to kiss your husband and say my name.
I will.
You don't have to say Brandon.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great one. This was the H and Honest Conversation about health, hemp, and happiness. We had Amelia Zachary on today, and it was a great interview. Let your friends know. Bye.
Oh, you really did put it.